It's pretty wild to think that in just the next few minutes, while you're watching this, the world's going to create more data than existed in the entire 20th century. Seriously. So today, we're going to break down how on earth we make sense of that digital flood. Welcome to Big Data Analytics. Okay, to really get a sense of the scale we're talking about, let me ask you something. Just think about your day. Every email you send, every photo you snap, every single Google search. Now, try to imagine that multiplied by billions of other people around the globe. How much new data do you think we're all creating in just one day? The answer is, well, it's just staggering. It's 2.5 quintillion bytes. Okay, what does that even mean? That's a 2.5 with 18 zeros after it. It's an amount of information that is so huge, our brains can't really even picture it. So what do you do with this absolute flood of digital information? I mean, you can't just use the old tools for this brand new reality, right? And that's exactly where big data analytics comes into play. So stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're going to dive into the fundamentals. All right, first things first, what even is big data? Well, at its heart, it's basically any pile of data that's so enormous and so complicated that your regular traditional database tools just can't handle it. They just throw their hands up. The big challenge isn't just finding a place to park all this data, it's about how you capture it, how you analyze it, and, most importantly, how you make any sense of it all. And this is where it's totally different from how we used to do things. Think of it like this. Traditional analytics was kind of like taking a poll. You'd grab a small sample of the data and try to guess what the whole picture looked like. Big data analytics? That's like conducting a full-blown census. The goal here is to process everything, the entire data set, so you can find those hidden patterns you would have completely missed otherwise. So to really wrap our heads around what actually makes data big, there's this handy framework that experts use called the 5 V's. These are basically the 5 main characteristics that define what we're dealing with, both the challenges and the opportunities. Let's go through them one by one. Okay, first up is volume. This is the one everybody thinks of, right? The sheer mind-boggling size of it all. And we're not just talking about text files anymore. We're talking about massive, high-resolution videos, tons of images, music, you name it. The scale is measured in terabytes, petabytes, and yeah, even exabytes. Next, we have velocity, and this is all about speed, because this data isn't just huge, it's coming at us incredibly fast. I mean, think about social media. A tweet can be old news in, a few seconds? So the analysis has to keep up, often happening in near real time just to stay relevant. Then you've got variety. Big data isn't just tidy numbers in a spreadsheet. Nope. It's everything. It's the neat, organized stuff we call structured data, sure, but it's also all the messy, disorganized, unstructured stuff. Emails, videos, PDFs, social media posts. And dealing with that sheer mix of formats, that's one of the biggest headaches in this whole game. We'll definitely circle back to that in a bit. All right, our 4th V is veracity. And this one is all about trust. Is the data you're looking at even accurate? Can you rely on it? A lot of big data is, frankly, pretty messy and full of noise. That's why a super critical step is cleaning the data, to weed out all the junk. Because if you don't, well, you know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. And that brings us to the 5th and honestly the most important V of them all, value. Because let's be real, without this one, the other 4 are pretty much useless. The whole point, the ultimate goal of all this work, is to take that massive, messy, fast-moving river of data and pull out meaningful insights that help us make smarter decisions. Okay, so we get the raw material now, but how do we actually pull that value out? A great way to think about it is like a ladder with 4 rungs. As you climb up this ladder, the analysis gets more and more complex, but the value you get out of it, it just skyrockets. You're basically moving from just looking back at the past to actually shaping the future. So the first rung on that ladder, it starts with a super simple question. What happened? This is what we call descriptive analytics. It's probably the most common type you'll see. It's all about looking at past data from different places, like your company's sales system, and creating reports or dashboards that just summarize what went down. That monthly sales report you get? Yep, that's descriptive analytics. So once we know what happened, the next logical question is pretty obvious, right? Why did it happen? And that brings us up to this second rung, diagnostic analytics. Now, we're not just looking at the surface level what, we're digging deeper, searching for the why. So if sales dropped last quarter, these are the tools that let you drill down into the data to find the root cause. Was it a problem in a specific region, or maybe with a certain product? It's basically detective work for data. Okay, now we're making a big shift. We're moving from looking in the rearview mirror to looking through the windshield. The next question up the ladder is, what's going to happen? And welcome to the world of predictive analytics. This is where you use all that historical data to spot patterns, and then you use those patterns to forecast what's likely to happen next. It's all about making a really smart, educated guess, things like forecasting how much of a product you'll sell, or predicting when a piece of machinery might break down. And this brings us to the very top of the ladder, the final rung, the most powerful and, the most complex question of them all. So, what should we do about it? This right here is prescriptive analytics. It's not enough to just predict what's coming. This step actually recommends specific actions you should take to get the best possible outcome. It's about taking that prediction and saying, okay, here's how you can influence it for the better. This is where foresight turns directly into action. Now, all four of those types of analytics, every single rung on that ladder, has to deal with that tricky V for variety we talked about earlier. And to really get why that's such a challenge, it helps to know that data basically comes in a few main flavors. Okay, if there's one number you take away from this whole thing, please let it be this one. It's estimated that a whopping 80% of all the data inside any given company is unstructured. Just think about that. 80%. This is the absolute heart of the big data challenge. The huge majority of our most valuable info just doesn't fit into those neat little rows and columns. And that's exactly why the old tools just don't work anymore. So what's the actual difference here? Well, this little table lays it out pretty clearly. Structured data, think bank transactions, is super organized. It follows a strict, predefined model, a schema. It's easy to search and sort. But unstructured data, things like tweets, blog posts, videos, it has no fixed model, none. You can't just run a simple search on it. It really is the Wild West of data. So we've seen the incredible scale of big data, right? And we've seen this powerful four-step ladder we can use to make sense of it all. But all this power brings a lot of responsibility, which leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. Now that we have the tools to analyze pretty much anything, what are the most important questions we should be asking?